Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at geometry. This will be our introduction to the foundational concepts of geometry. Here we'll take a look at perimeter first. The perimeter, by the way, is the distance around the outside of any figure. So to find the perimeter of a figure, we are just going to add up the lengths of all the sides. Let's take a look at an example. What is the perimeter of our pentagon here? Here we can add 6, 6, 8, 8, and 10 to get 38. Our formula for perimeter is P equals side plus side plus side until you run out of sides. Now, let's take a look at triangles. We'll begin with the perimeter. The perimeter of the triangle here would be 8 plus 8 plus 12, or 28. Triangles have 3 sides. Here in our pentagon we have 5. Now let's take a look at squares and rectangles. A rectangle is a 4-sided figure with 4 90-degree angles. A square is a special type of rectangle. in which all the sides are equal. Let's take a look at a square. And let's find the perimeters. We'll begin with our rectangle, 7, 7, 3, 3. The perimeter is 20. Now let's take a look at the square. 5, 5, 5, 5. They are all equal. 5, 10, 15, 20. Our perimeter will be 20. Let's remember with squares that because all sides of a square are equal, we can find the length of a side simply by dividing its perimeter by 4. For example, here, if the perimeter is 20, we can divide 20 by 4 to find that all of the equal sides of a square would be 5 with this square. Now that we've had a chance to really look at perimeter, let's take a look at area. Let's remember our perimeter is the distance around the outside of any figure. Let's add our definition for area. Area will be the amount of space taken up by a two-dimensional figure. One way to think about area is the amount of paper that a figure would cover. For example, the larger the area, the more paper that figure would take up. Now, to determine the area of a square or rectangle, we simply multiply the length by the width. In fact, this is our formula. The formula for area will be length times width.
So for example, what is the area of a rectangle with a length of 9 and a width of 4? In this case, the length is 9 and the width is 4. So let's multiply 9 times 4. Nine times 4 is 36. Our area is 36. A equals L times W. Let's take a look at a figure. Can we find the area of this rectangle? A, B, C, D. Here we can multiply length times width. 8 times 6 is 48. Our area is 48. Typically on our test problems, area will be expressed in square feet, square inches, and so on for the measurements. To find the area of a square, we'll multiply two sides. And because the sides are equal, we're really just finding the square of the sides. For example, you can find the length of a side of a square by taking the square root of the area when we get into advanced math. If a square has an area of 25, one side must be 5. And we'll talk more about that when we get to advanced math and radicals. Now let's take a look at volume. Let's remember perimeter is the distance around the outside of any figure. Area is the amount of space taken up by a two-dimensional figure. Volume is similar to area, except it takes into account a third dimension. To compute the volume, we simply are going to find the area and then multiply by that third dimension. For instance, if we are going to find the volume of a rectangular object, we would multiply the length by the width, in other words, the area of the base, by the height, that would be the third dimension. Since a regular solid like a box is the only kind of figure that we'll likely see in a volume question, here at level 4 through 6, we can simply use our formula, length times width times height. Let's take a look at an example. Here's our rectangular object. We can multiply the length by the width, or the area of the base, by the height. This is the third dimension, to get our volume. Length times width times height is volume. Or V equals LWH. Let's try a practice problem. What is the volume of a rectangular fish tank with the following specifications? A length of 6 inches, a height of 6 inches, and a width of 10 inches. Here we can refer back to our volume formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Let's plug in our numbers. 6 times 10 times 6. Let's multiply 6 times 10 times 6. 60 times 6 gives us 360. Our answer is 360. Here the answers will be expressed in cubic centimeters, for example, cubic inches. We'll talk more about that when we get to exponents in our advanced section. Great job today on our lesson, our first geometry lesson, as we're looking at perimeter area and volume. I'll place our practice problems here on the discussion board. Take care.